Good morning, Madam Azra and everyone. Today, our group will present a case study analysis called Another Staff Meeting. Let's start with the introduction. Communication is the heart of any successful business. Good communication creates a healthy work environment and keeps employees happy and motivated. However, when management fails to communicate well, lacks organization, or shows no empathy, tension and misunderstanding will grow very fast. This is exactly what happened in our case study, where we look at the communication issues in a department managed by Jim McLean. We can clearly see this problem in how he treats his team members, especially Jun Hanks and Rudy Brosting. This bad communication hurts workplace relationship and makes employees lose motivation. Next, we will look at the case overview. Now, let's look at the case overview. We can break down the story into three main parts. First, Jim's bad leadership style. Jim uses a very strict autocratic style and does not listen to his team. He calls a last-minute meetings without giving anyone an agenda. On top of that, he showed up 10 minutes late and did all the talking during the meeting. Secondly, the pressure on his employees. Jim suddenly ordered his staff to write down 3 ideas to solve office problems by tomorrow morning, completely ignoring how busy they already are. When June tried to explain that the VIP service program was causing too much stress, Jim quickly shut her down and ignored her feedback. Third, the negative impact and theories. Because of Jim's behavior, the employees become frustrated. They showed it through their non-verbal signs like rolling their eyes. In the end, they chose to stay completely silent because they felt it was unsafe to share their opinions. To understand these issues better, we will analyze this case using 4 communication theories. Firstly is the humanistic. Secondly is the leader-member exchange theory, contingency, and behavioral theory. I will now pass the presentation to my teammate. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AINA SOFEA HAIZAL, number metric 312109. For this section, I will explain the major communication issues that occurred in the case study Another Staff Meeting. After analyzing the situation, we identified 4 main communication problems that caused the meeting to become ineffective and created dissatisfaction among employees. The first issues that occurred was poor meeting planning and scheduling. Jim often called meetings at the last minute without providing a clear agenda or fixed schedule for the employees. Because of this, employees did not have enough time to prepare their ideas or gather relevant information. As a result, employees felt confused and stressed, which reduced the effectiveness of the communication during the meeting. So the next communication issues that happened in the meeting was failure in output communication and lack of sympathy. During the meeting, June raised concern about her heavy workload and urgent project deadlines. However, Jim ignored her feedback and focused only on his own priorities. This made the employees feel that their opinion were not valued. Consequently, they become frustrated and less willing to communicate openly with the management. So the third communication issues that happened during the meeting was ineffective problem-solving communication. Instead of addressing the employees' actual concern, Jim focused mainly on reducing red tapes procedure and discussing the VIP service program. As a result, their real workplace problems were not solved at all. Valuable meeting times was wasted on less urgent issue and no effective solution were reached. Finally, we reached the final communication issues that happened during the meeting. The final issue is negative non-verbal communication and defensive silence. Employees showed their dissatisfaction through body language, while many co-workers supported June's concern but were too afraid to speak up. The meeting ended with very little participation, showing lacks of trust and poor relationships between employees and management. That's it from me. Thank you. I will pass to the next person.
For this section, I will explain the role of leadership and leadership style shown in this case. Firstly, leadership plays an important role in managing discussions and ensuring effective communication within an organization. However, Jim McLean failed to manage the meeting effectively. He arrived late, called a last-minute meeting without a clear agenda, and dominated most of the discussion. Instead of encouraging employees to share their opinion, he dismissed their concern and focused only on his own priorities. Secondly, Jim McLean demonstrated an autocratic leadership style. He made decisions independently and expected employees to follow his instructions without considering their workloads or opinions. For example, he instructed staff to provide 3 written solutions by the next morning despite their existing responsibilities. In addition, Jim lacked active listening skill. When June raised concern about the VIP service program, he immediately rejected her opinion instead of discussing the issue openly. As a result, employees felt that their ideas were not valued and became less motivated to participate in discussion. Next, this case also highlights the influence of organizational politics and power. As a supervisor, Jim McLean controlled the meeting agenda and determined which issues were discussed. Although several employees believed that the VIP service program was creating a major problem, Jim ignored their concern and insisted on focusing only on reducing bureaucracy. This shows how power can influence decision-making and limit alternative viewpoints. Because June's concerns were dismissed, other employees become less willing to participate in the discussion. Many choose to remain silent because they fear criticism or rejection. This created a negative organizational climate with low trust and poor communication. Overall, Jim McLean demonstrated ineffective leadership. His autocratic leadership style, lack of active listening, and misuse of authority discouraged employee participation and weakened teamwork. This case shows that supportive and participative leadership is important for encouraging communications, improving employee engagement, and helping organizations achieve their goals.
Moving on to the decision-making effectiveness. To put it bluntly, Jim McLean's top-down, highly centralized leadership style has severely compromised the quality of organizations' decisions. We can break down these flows into 3 operational areas. First, Jim makes critical choices based on incomplete and inaccurate information because he aggressively shut down outward communication. He completely disconnected from day-to-day realities. For an example, when June, the one who is expert on the ground, tries to explain that the VIP service program is causing major disruptions, Jim simply refuses to listen. By ignoring his staff, he strips data out of the decision-making process. This leads directly to our second point, a complete lack of team buy-in. A decision is only successful if the team is motivated to execute it. When Jim autocratically demands 3 written solutions by the next morning, it isn't a collaborative decision. It's a forced command because the team feels like their existing workloads are completely ignored. They have zero personal commitment to his goals. The heavy silence and the way everyone rushed out of the room at the end of the meeting prove that the team has mentally checked out, meaning these decisions are highly likely to fail during the implementation. Finally, Jim's poor communication causes the department to focus on the entirely wrong operational priorities. During their brief 15-minute meeting, Jim wasted valuable time fixating on red tape, a superficial issue that staff already knows cannot be easily changed due to company procedures. Meanwhile, he completely ignored the VIP service program, which is the actual major operational threat. Ultimately, Jim is wasting resources by fighting temporary systems rather than addressing the root causes of the organization problems.
Based on behavioral theory, Jim should improve his leadership communication by practicing active listening, showing empathy, and communicating respectfully. This will encourage employees to participate more actively and create a more trusting work environment. According to humanistic theory, employees are more motivated when they feel valued and respected. Jim should encourage two-way communication and involve employees in discussions so they feel comfortable sharing their ideas and feedback. According to LMX theory, strong relationship between leaders and employees help create trust and effective communication. However, Jim ignored employee feedback, making them feel undervalued. For example, he dismissed Jun's concern about the VIP service program. To improve, Jim should listen to employees, respect their opinions, and involve them in decision-making. This can strengthen trust, teamwork, and communication in the workplace. According to contingency theory, there is no single leadership style that works in every situation. Leaders must adapt their approach based on the circumstances and identify the real problem before making decisions. To conclude our presentation, let's look at the conclusion. The main lesson from this case study is that leadership is not just about having power. A good leader must build teamwork, listen to his employees' complaints, and encourage open discussion. From Jim's case, we learned that meetings must always have a clear goals. Leaders should never rush to make decisions or set deadlines without checking the heavy workload of their team first. In short, when an organization respects its employees and values their ideas, it will build trust, make faster decisions, and achieve long-term success. That is all from our group. Thank you very much for listening.